Xiaomi Redmi Note 2 hands-on and reviews. Introduction. Nowadays we talk about ultra-affordable Chinese smartphones as if they popped out of thin air one day and never left. Combined, this makes for a competitive proposition, and one of the latest out of its gates is the Redmi Note 2 phablet. Sold for the equivalent of just $140 in China, and about $30 to $50 on top of that through e-tailers, the Note 2 sounds incredible on paper. A large, 1080p display, a powerful octa-core processor, 2 GB of RAM, and a 13MP camera. The question is, what's lost in the translation from a specs sheet to a device used in the real world? Design. For starters, despite rocking identically sized screen panels, the Redmi Note 2 is considerably smaller, and significantly narrower, helping you almost forget that what you're handling is a truly large phone. At 5.64 ounces, 160 grams, and 0.32 inches, 8.25 millimeters, this affordable phablet is also much lighter and somewhat thinner than its predecessor. So far, so good. Switching gears to aesthetics, we won't try and pretend that the Note 2 is anything approaching a masterpiece. It's quite ordinary looking, with a slightly rounded rectangular body made out of plastic. It's a decent kind of plastic sturdy mat for the back that doesn't look as cheap as it should at those prices. Unfortunately, in less than 2 weeks' time, the edges of our unit started showing traces of colorization, so it's probably best if you steer clear of the white model. The backplate is removable, with access to the 2 SIM slots and micro SD card hidden underneath. We have one gripe with the easily removable back, however, the imperfect fit. The back panel creaks towards the sides of the phone, and this only got worse and worse with every successive removal of the back. Similarly, the lock key and volume rocker are unsatisfying, with relatively short travel time. Moving to the front, it's all glass and display, with the signature red capacitive keys of the Redmi family. On the top, you'll find that Xiaomi has actually fitted an IR blaster, unusual for this price class. Display. So for most buyers, the 5.5-inch IPS LCD display of the Redmi Note 2 will be one of the main draws. And we're happy to say that Xiaomi is delivering a good experience. Unlike its predecessor, which had to make do with a 720p screen, the Note 2 is outfitted with a much sharper, 1080x1920 resolution unit, good for the excellent 401 pixels per inch. We spent quite some time staring at it, and there's no pixelization of any kind. The panel is quite color accurate, too, especially for this class. We've got a decent color temperature of 7300K, 6500K being ideal, though that still means colors are colder, more bluish, than they should be. Still, the Note 2 does well with relatively small errors, reproducing primary and secondary colors. With a higher average gamma value of 2.27, the display also exhibits some artificial boost to contrast, so it's not perfectly natural, but still attractive. Finally, the Redmi Note 2 also delivers on brightness, 499 nits at the top end, and 5 nits at minimum, which is great if you use your device before bed. The screen is visible outdoors, and can be even used when sun rays fall directly on it. Processor and memory. The MediaTek Helio X10 chip delivers respectable performance. A very big part of the appeal of the Redmi Note 2 is the silicon under the lid, an octa-core, 64-bit MediaTek Helio X10 processor, MT6795T, with 2 clusters of 4 2.2 GHz Cortex-A53 cores working together in big. Little. The GPU on duty is the 700 MHz PowerVR G6200, helped by 2 GB of LPDDR3 RAM. Certainly not the highest of high-end configurations, but absolutely beastly when considered in the context of the $170 price tag. And it does its job more than well enough. Navigational fluidity is consistently satisfying, with hiccups being an exception. Apps open fast, and heavy 3D games like Asphalt 8 run with pretty satisfying frame rates. Apps like Tinder also run pretty well. Battery life: good, not excellent. After a decent showing so far, the last major test of the Redmi Note 2 is battery life. Xiaomi Redmi Note 2 review. Rocking a 3060 mAh juice pack, we expected the phablet to deliver reasonable results in our custom battery life benchmark, which attempts to mimic your everyday usage of the phone calls, messaging, video playback, and such. And while the clock stopped short of excellent, at 7 hours and 4 minutes, we were happy with what we got. Depending on your personal use patterns and habits, this results can translate to both up to 2 days of usage, or a single one but of intense work. In our experience, we easily got a day and a half, but had to ease up a little to survive the 48 hour. Once your juice is out, you'll need just under 2 hours to get the battery back to full. Not a record-setting figure, sure, but very good on the whole, and specifically in this class. Thanks to a charger. Camera: the weakest link in the chain, the 13MP Samsung sensor could use some work. A Samsung-made, 13-megapixel camera is on duty with the Redmi Note 2, complete with f/2.2 lens and phase detection autofocus. The camera is capable of 1080p video recording at 30 frames per second and slow-motion video at 120 fps, but a 4K UHD mode is absent. Up front, we've got an OmniVision branded, 5-megapixel selfie snapper with f/2.0 lens, capable of 1080p video. Switching gears to image quality, it's a mixed bag, mostly protected by the cheap price tag of the phablet. In broad daylight, snaps come out soft, blurring out some of the detail that you'd expect from a 13MP unit, but with decent white balance and exposure. Dynamic range is average and HDR mode delivers attractive stills that don't look overly flat. Selfies come out pretty decent, but panoramas are just brutal low resolution, less than 1.5 MP, and all around ugly. It gets worse and worse when we go indoors and then shoot at night. The softness of the images is now accompanied by noise, and sharp focus becomes problematic, with even slight trembles causing some blur. Colors are decently close to realistic on the whole, though. Night photography, however, is not something you'll enjoy. The shooter just isn't good enough to both ensure enough light enters the lens and capture a snap fast enough to avoid blur. Conclusion: at about $170 to $190, excluding any possibly applicable import fees, the Xiaomi Redmi Note 2 is a hard phablet to beat, though certainly not unopposed. For around that kind of money, you can get Meizu's M2 Note 5.5-incher, which sports a nearly identical specs list, but comes with a better camera and sweeter battery life. It's arguably the more attractive of the two, also. We've had some troubles with its software, though, in comparison, MIUI is madly powerful, but contained and well behaved. In any case, as far as successors go, the Redmi Note 2 ticks all the right boxes to qualify and end up in the worth it corner. So if you've got the original Redmi Note, it'll be worth getting this one, as it's an all-around better performer. Honestly, our only real beef was with the wobbly backplate, which may be isolated to just our unit, so if possible, get some hands-on time before committing. Bottom line, if you're on a tight budget, and want a competent, phablet-sized phone with MIUI, get this. If not, go take a look at Meizu's M2 Note. Software version, Android 5.0.2 with MIUI 6.7.10.0.0.